Welcome back into the Sports Zone here on Power 90.5, Cullowhee's Classic Rock Station. I am your host, Andrew. Standing alongside me, as always, is Hunter McClintock.
Hello, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. We're about halfway home through this wonderful Monday edition of the Sports Zone. But we have the NFL Draft coming up on Thursday. Unfortunately, we don't have a Wednesday show.
No, we do not.
So we can't
spend a
whole episode dedicated to the draft. Friday, we will, of course, review the first round picks that we think will work, picks that we think were kind of a little bit So, that'll just be how that goes. But give me your top 5 for the NFL mock draft that you have right now. Who do you think's going in the top 5?
Well, my top pick is probably everybody's consensus top pick. We got Myles Garrett and his defensive playing abilities coming out of Texas A&M. Everybody says that Cleveland needs a quarterback. Well, they draft a quarterback every year. They have a different starting quarterback.
At least at some point in the draft, they draft a quarterback.
And they also keep switching starting quarterbacks. And there's the same conclusion every time. They need another quarterback, right?
Yeah, the thing is, they got Osweiler from the trade with Houston that Houston didn't want him anymore.
No. After paying him like $65 million.
The Browns have the cap space to take on that contract and let him play. Yeah, let him play for at least, I don't know, a little bit this season.
Yeah.
I like Cody Kessler. I might be one of the only people who like Cody Kessler. I think he's a good quarterback. And if he had stayed healthy more this past season, he should have been the starter.
Yeah.
But between Osweiler and Kessler, you have the quarterback talent to at least get 2-3 wins.
Yeah, I mean win 2 games.
When you have at least the ability to get 2 games, either trade picks for more picks or a player or someone. If you really want to get Garoppolo, if you feel the need to make that trade. Yeah, if the Patriots are willing to do that. But don't get a quarterback in this draft. You don't need it. There's the defense is pretty good in this draft. Quarterback's really the only weakness, really. So, you got to take a defensive player of some sort. If it's not Myles Garrett, Solomon Thomas, Jonathan Allen. There's good secondary players like Jamal Adams, Malik Hooker. Somebody. Don't take a quarterback. Not with the first pick, anyways.
No, you got to kind of build a defense too. You can score all the points you want, which they don't, but you got to have a defense to be there to try and stop the opposing offense. So I think if you have Myles Garrett, he could drop back a little bit if he wanted to. He's a really good pass rusher, good at stopping the run. I think he'd be a good cornerstone to kind of build a young defense around. Maybe not too young, have some experience out there for leadership, but he could be a good defensive leader on that team.
All right, give me your second and third picks.
Second and third picks
of the NFL draft.
All right. Well, Andrew, you're going to like this one. I've got Jonathan Allen coming out of Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Big Alabama fan over here, as we all know from past years.
You'd think that I like that pick, but I heard something where it was a question of, does Nick Saban use up all the abilities
I think he does
that his players have when he's at Alabama?
I think he does.
And then they can't do as much when they're in the NFL.
Because they're all duds once they get to the NFL.
Not at when you think about it, not at the positions where they're not overused. Wide receiver, tight end.
Okay.
Those guys who come out of Alabama, Julio Jones, Amari Cooper, those guys aren't busts.
No.
O.J. Howard, we don't know what he'll be like, but the general thought is he could be a tight end that goes in the top 5.
Usually it's the running backs
and the line and some defensive players.
Because Eddie Lacy.
What's weird about Eddie Lacy is he's probably the least used of the Alabama running backs who's come out.
There's a reason he's the least used.
No, I meant when he was at Alabama.
Okay.
When he was at Alabama, he only had really 1 year as a starter. Some of these other guys, they get 2 years. They're playing a lot their freshman year. Lacy, it was really only like 1 year.
Okay.
Which I feel like is why he's maybe not a great NFL running back, but he's still getting jobs.
Okay.
And he's not bad. He's just injury prone. And we've seen his big frame might help him more.
Okay.
So, while I do think Jonathan Allen is good
Okay.
and worthy to go in the top 10 at least,
Okay.
I don't know if he'll pan out because Alabama has had this reputation with other players that they don't pan out. I mean, Georgia Tech,
Yeah.
they gave us Calvin Johnson. They gave us Demaryius Thomas.
Yep.
They run the triple option.
Yep.
Those wide receivers aren't used for much other than pass or run blocking.
Yep.
So I feel like there's a correlation between that and Alabama, a school that utilizes the run more than the pass, then their receivers work better in the NFL.
Okay.
But, you know, San Francisco, they could also take a quarterback.
Yeah.
But I feel like they're waiting on Kirk Cousins. I like a defensive player. I have Solomon Thomas.
Okay.
Mostly because of the Stanford connection between him and John Lynch, their new general manager. Yeah. So that's where I feel that San Francisco goes on that. And you say Fournette to the Bears.
Yes, I do.
That makes sense.
They need a running back.
They had Jordan Howard, who was a 1,000-yard rusher.
Yep.
But he's young.
Yep.
And if you have two good running backs, maybe that takes a lot of the pressure off Mike Glennon.
Yep.
I think the Bears, they're known for defense. They've been known for defense most of the franchise's history. That's where I have Jonathan Allen going, is to the Bears.
And I mean, we saw what happened in Dallas in 2014 when they actually got a good run. I mean, they actually got a good running back in DeMarco Murray. That was probably his breakout year. He took all the offensive pressure off Tony Romo, which had been there forever. He felt he had to make the big plays when it had to be done. He had to make every play. And then once they added another weapon to their offense, it kind of took some pressure off him. And he played more relaxed, and the whole offense kind of played better. And so this is what could happen with the Bears if they take Fournette. I know they're probably not going to listen to me. But, I think that could happen. Go ahead and get another offensive weapon in there, kind of give your quarterback, kind of take some pressure off his shoulders. Right.
That will. Mike Glennon has never really been the guy.
No.
So if you have Jordan Howard.
Yep.
1,000-yard rusher last season, who's young. You get Leonard Fournette. That's a lot of pressure off him, especially when Alshon Jeffrey left in free agency to the Eagles. When you don't really know what Kevin White has as a receiver now that he probably has to be the number one guy. It kind of does make sense for the Bears to take another offensive weapon. But really quickly, before we go to break, 4th and 5th picks to the Jags and Titans. In your NFL draft.
4th, I've got Jamal Adams out of LSU. He is being compared to, and I know comparisons don't always mean anything, but he's being compared to Averill out of Seattle. Okay. Big comparison, big shoes to fill. He says he wants to be more like Tyrann Mathieu. So, and he's got speed. He's got excellent technique. He hits hard. And I mean, he's disciplined. I've seen him on the field, and I saw a sports science segment on him. So, I mean, I've seen kind of what he could do in that segment. I watched him play a little bit over the college season. Good player. He'd be a good pickup for the Jags. And then I have Solomon Thomas going 5th to the Titans. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of defensive players in the draft this year. Not trying to make my whole top 5 defense, but it's kind of hard when you have so many defensive players that could go in the top 15 in the draft, top 20, top 25.
Right. And with the Jaguars, that's where I have Fournette going to take pressure off Blake Bortles.
That does make sense too. Kind of a struggling offense trying to come into their own. And it'll take some time, but what Jacksonville's doing, they're doing the right thing. They're building a strong team that'll be there one day.
And with the Titans, who I think are the real bandits, especially of last year's draft, they're picking where the Rams would pick right now. I think they'll take Jamal Adams to bolster that secondary. They signed Logan Ryan and John Cyprin. But I feel like they'll just need a little bit more, especially if Andrew Luck gets going in the AFC South, especially if Houston somehow gets a good passing quarterback. And we know Blake Bortles is going to throw it up.
And Indianapolis does have the easiest NFL schedule this year, so we'll see what Luck can do with that.
Yeah, we'll see if he can stay healthy for once.
And it's not Luck's fault that the Colts are bad.
That's a whole nother issue.
That's a whole nother issue, but it's not his fault. Just putting it out there.
But now there's a new regime in Indianapolis that'll hopefully get the most out of their young Stanford quarterback. But we're going to take our final break here on the Sports Zone Power 90.5, Cullowby's Classic Rock Station. We will be back after this.